Welcome to the Nightmare Vault. This is the first of our new shorter series of stories. Tonight, a cabin rental from the dark web that should have never been booked. Before we start, drop a hello in the comments and let us know where you're listening from. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Let's begin. I still get jumpy in the woods. I never used to. Growing up, we camped every summer, just me and my dad. But after this, even walking my dog through the park makes me feel sick. And it all started with a last-minute cabin rental I found on the dark web. This was back in 2022. I'd been in a bad place. Work stress, breakup, the usual excuses. And I wanted a few days away from everything. Found this little cabin on a rental site, cheap because it was off-season, tucked deep in some forest up north. The pictures looked decent enough, basic but cozy. Exactly the kind of place you go when you want to sit by a fire, drink too much and feel sorry for yourself. I decided to hike to the cabin, as hiking is something I always enjoyed doing with my dad. It took longer than I expected to get there, and the last half hour was winding trails through dense trees. It was the kind of trail where you felt lost at every turn. I remember seeing a couple of old signs nailed to trees, but the paint had faded so badly and the signs were so rotten, I couldn't read what they said. That should have been my first clue. The cabin itself was fine, bare bones, a bit damp, but I wasn't expecting luxury. It had a tiny kitchen, a bathroom that felt more like an outhouse with plumbing, and a living room with a wood burner that took about an hour to warm the place up. There was only one bedroom, and the bed creaked so loudly I ended up sleeping on the sofa. The first night was quiet, too quiet. You always think the countryside's going to be peaceful, but it's not. There's usually wind, distant traffic, animals rustling around. This was silence, thick enough that my ears felt blocked. I kept telling myself it was just how remote the place was, but it didn't sit right. The second night is when it started. I was outside, trying to get a phone signal. The cabin's Wi-Fi didn't work, obviously, when I noticed a small red light in the trees. It was low, maybe knee height, and it flickered like a faulty torch. I stared at it for a bit, then convinced myself it was just someone camping further down the trail. The forest was technically public land, so it wasn't impossible. The light was still there the next night. Same spot, same faint flicker. I nearly went to check it out, but it was late, and I'd had a few drinks, so I left it. That's the part that still gets me. How many times I nearly saved myself and didn't. The morning after, I found something strange on the kitchen table. A small camera, the kind you see in baby monitors or cheap security setups, pointing directly at the sofa. It wasn't there when I arrived. I stood there for a solid minute, trying to work out if I was losing it, or if someone had been inside while I slept. I should have left right then. Instead, I convinced myself the cabin owners had left it there for insurance or something, even though that didn't make any sense. I stuffed it in a drawer and went about my day like nothing was wrong. That evening, the light in the trees was closer. It was maybe 10 meters back, half hidden behind a tree trunk. I stared at it for so long my eyes hurt, but it didn't move. I went inside, locked the door, and told myself it was probably a trail camera or some idiot doing wildlife photography. I couldn't sleep. every time I closed my eyes, I kept imagining that little red light, moving closer, creeping up to the cabin windows. I gave up around 3 a.m. I got up and got myself a drink. I managed to connect to the Wi-Fi for about 20 minutes before it seemed to give up. Not ideal, but long enough to access shared folders about the area. That's when I noticed a folder that seemed out of place. It was called Current Session. I almost didn't open it. I was tired, drunk, and my brain kept feeding me stupid explanations. Maybe the rental company loaded safety videos onto the Wi-Fi router, or maybe it was some leftover folder from a previous guest. But my hands moved before I could stop them. There were 6 video files, all from the past 48 hours. The first was me arriving, finding my way in the dark. The second was me sitting outside smoking. The third was me asleep on the sofa, filmed from the little camera I'd found. The fourth, I can't even describe the feeling. It was me again, standing at the kitchen window, looking out at the trees. Except it wasn't filmed from inside the cabin. It was filmed from outside. Someone had been watching me through the window, close enough to see every detail. The 5th file was live. It was me, sitting on the sofa, staring at my laptop, exactly how I was at that moment. The camera appeared to be zoomed in from a distance, from outside the cabin. That's when it dawned on me. The red light. I slammed the laptop shut, heart hammering so hard I thought I'd throw up. Every instinct screamed to get out, but I couldn't move. My body just locked up, stuck between fight and flight, doing neither. Then the 6th file started playing. Even as I write this now, it sounds so unbelievable. It was a split screen of 4 individual camera feeds. They all looked like first-person handheld views. All of them were approaching the cabin from different angles. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. My mind was racing, trying to find any explanation other than the obvious. Hikers, hunters, anything but what it actually was. The screen flickered one last time, showing a countdown. Session starts 000432. The cabin's front door creaked. I ran. I had no plan, no shoes, no torch. I leapt through the cabin window and just ran as fast as I could straight into the woods. Behind me, I could hear them. Low voices, laughter. I didn't stop until I hit the main road, nearly getting flattened by a lorry as I stumbled onto the tarmac, screaming like a lunatic. The driver called the police. I spent the next hour in the back of a squad car, shaking so badly I couldn't hold a cup of water. When they went to check the cabin, it was empty. No cameras and no laptop. No sign anyone had been there but me. They said I probably had a breakdown. Stress, isolation, alcohol. I almost believed them until the email arrived the next day. No text, no subject. Just a single image of me sitting at my kitchen table. I ran faster than I ever have before.